You're in this crowded room.
Hey, what's up everybody? Chad Calek here, and welcome back to the In a Crowded Room podcast, where on this episode, I'm actually going to be sharing with you and reviewing a piece of ghost visitation footage that went viral. A very, very cool piece of footage. And I'm going to share with you a couple stories that I've experienced that relate to this footage. One of them I think I may have shared or partially shared before, but it's one of my favorite stories of visitations, which I am a firm believer in. If you don't know what I'm talking about, hang on, we'll get there in just a second. Also, I am doing wonderful, everybody. I know there was a big drop-off the last couple weeks, and a lot of that had to do with the fact that Los Angeles is getting back on its feet again after the fires, and I had a ton of meetings with our distributors and promoters and my agent that just kind of lined up back to back to back. Plus, I've been mixing all of the music, and there is a ton of it, for the Harbinger's soundtrack. And that's not really a job that you can bounce in and out of edits. Like when it comes to mixing music, it is really something that you have to focus on and start, stop, and finish kind of all together. It's just very hard to have your ears listen to one thing, then listen to entirely different mixes of normal sound, and then go back into a mix. So I had to finish that up, and I did, which is awesome. And last but not least, I have been editing like crazy on Harbingers, which I really needed to do, because the more and more that I edit the podcast, it just takes away chunks of time. And we're still not to the point yet where we can bring in an editor, but we're getting closer. I also spend a lot of time talking to YouTube, trying to understand why in the hell they demonetize so many of my podcasts. I don't understand. But also, what I really don't understand, and they haven't been able to provide me with an answer yet, is why when I share music, do they notify so few people? And what I mean by that is when I put a new episode out to the podcast, depending upon the topic, it could be anywhere from 2,500, 3,500, views to as many as 20, 25,000. It just depends on what the topic is. But on the back end, I can look and see like who they're sharing the video with, and that's as far as subs versus just like putting on the back end of other YouTube videos that YouTube decides to push it out there. And what's really bizarre is when I release music, I notice that the last couple tracks, that the views were super low. I mean, the amount of people that it's shared with, if you look on the back end, it's like 10% of the amount of people that they usually share my videos with. So I'm trying to understand why that is. I don't know if the algorithm just sees my site as a podcast site. So when something that's 2.5 minutes or 3 minutes long is released, it doesn't treat it with the same, the same reach for some reason. I don't know. But it's super frustrating, because if you go and look at the music that I've released in the last, a couple months, the comments are incredible, which thank you all. Like, that means the world to me. As you guys know, music is my number one passion in the world. And what really bummed me out is this last song that I released, God-Fearing. Many people have now told me, dude, this is the best song you've ever written. And I've written hundreds of songs. In fact, I have another really crazy episode coming up that involves David Koresh, Charles Manson, and Slipknot, and a long-lost full-length 35-inch Mutter record, which it's going to be a really exciting episode about music and this crazy story that connects me to Charlie Manson and David Koresh, and it kind of through the battle with Slipknot, this all played out. Anyways, that's coming up, so keep an eye out for that. But I've written hundreds and hundreds of songs. And this last song, God-Fearing, was also kind of my first kind of venture into territory that could be called country, I guess, or certainly southern, or like a western southern sound. But I knew when I wrote it that it was a really strong song. And it was one of those crazy fucking things, man, where I woke up one morning, I literally had the thought, and 10 minutes later the song was written. It was just one of those times where, man, it is honestly like God reaches down and just says, this is for you, and gives you this song. And it's weird how songwriting is like that. I've had some songs that I have worked on for literally years before I finally get them to a place where I'm like confident. And some songs I have 500 different versions of until I settle on one. And then songs like God-Fearing that I wrote, it's like it just happens. And those are always, I swear to God, those are always the best songs. But many people now have told me this is your best work. And after I uploaded it to YouTube, I saw on the back end that, it literally shared it with like less than 200 people. And I was like, oh, dude, that sucks, just because I want people to hear the song. I think you guys will enjoy it. Now, the comments of the people that heard it were literally amongst the best comments I've ever received in my life off of YouTube. So make sure you check that out. But for those of you that haven't heard it, I'm going to play this song right now. And if you could give me at least 30 seconds of your time and listen to this song. If you listen for 30 seconds and you don't want to hear the rest of it, feel free to fast forward ahead. But I write this music for people to hear and enjoy, and it also defines my films. And this is just a song that I think you guys will truly, truly enjoy. So if you haven't listened to God-Fearing yet, here it is right now. Enjoy.
With each sundown, I look around for the magic born of life's memory. But these sleight of hand mysteries take away my energy. They leave me lying for the love I need. And when my heart beats slow, they help me bleed. So before you move, you should know what I used to breathe. See, I stole my faith from a dreamer, and I was gifted my tongue from a screamer. So before you claim you're a singer, if you want me to believe her, you better hide your talent, sing. I've watched too many starve on the diet of your eyes. I've wiped away these tears and cried too many times. I've spent my whole life fighting from the bottom. Now that I got 'em, I'ma damn sure do my thing. So when my blood turns so cold, you can feel it when you're standing near her. I'ma put the fear of God in the mirror, and then they'll write about it. Then they'll write about it. Then they'll write about it. Now the devil got his eye on me, at least that's what they say, he shouted. He likes it quiet in this room, that's why I keep it crowded. Now the devil got his eye on me, at least that's what they say, he shouted. He likes it quiet in this room, that's why I keep it crowded. I'm spending my whole life fighting from the bottom. Now that I got 'em, I'ma damn sure do my thing. So as my blood runs cold, No matter what you do, I'ma put the fear of God in you.
So there it is, a really inspiring song to me. I think it's a really cool song, but I would love to know your guys' thoughts. So definitely let me know what you guys think in the comments below of the song. And please share it with people. If you enjoy it, if you dig it, let people hear it. Let them know that it's mine. Let them know that it's going to be in Harbingers. And feel free to repost it and share it everywhere. Feel free to download it. You know, it's literally made for you. So enjoy. Having said that, also I have two announcements for upcoming events that I will be making tomorrow. I am incredibly stoked about both of these events that are coming up. One of them is going to be my birthday bash event, and the other one is located in a state called Texas. So yes, we are finally coming back to Texas. It's been over 2 years, and I cannot wait to get back there. So where are we going? You'll find out tomorrow. Now, let's get into it. The footage that I'm talking about, the video clip that I'm talking about, I don't know if you guys have seen this on Nuke's Top 5, but I received it from probably 5 or 6 people independently, and then someone sent me the new Nuke's Top 5 video, and it was like the opening clip that was on his new Top 5 video. So check this out. This appeared on the news, and then it went viral shortly after. Check out this story.
A Utah baby is alive today thanks to a fisherman and a group of police and fire officials and a mysterious voice. After seeing this crash site, a fisherman called 911. When Salt Fork police arrived on the scene, they remember hearing a voice calling to them saying, "Help me." But when they flipped the car over, they found the woman driving had died. They also found her baby unconscious but alive.
I said, was I the only one that was hearing this, thinking I was hearing things? And when I talked to the other officers, we all had heard the same thing, a voice saying, "Help us, help me."
Police officials told CBN News the 18-month-old baby Lily Grosbeck has made a miraculous recovery and is with her extended family.
You know, when we first got the report that there's a vehicle upside down in the river, a fisherman had walked by the vehicle. We didn't know if the vehicle was abandoned or if anyone was inside the vehicle. It wasn't until we were about there that we got a report saying that they could see an arm protruding from the vehicle.
So how much of the vehicle was submerged at that point, Jared?
The roof, it was upside down in the river. Water was probably 8 inches from the top of the door frame where the window meets. So definitely the roof section was submerged.
And was Lily in the water itself?
Not at that moment. She was fortunately placed at the rear of the vehicle in the back seat when it was upside down that suspended her to where she was out of the water at that time.
Tyler, when you arrived on scene, what did you do?
We heard something saying, help us inside. And so it was at that point that we said we have to get in that car now. And we all, the 4 of us, were able to push the car on its side. And that's when I looked inside and was able to see the child infant strapped in the back seat.
So you actually heard a voice calling out, "Help me." Do you know who that was?
You know, at first we didn't know if it was someone inside the car, if it was what that voice was. We assumed, or I assumed, that it was someone in the car saying, "Help me." That's why we responded saying, we're trying, we're going to get inside and help you, we're doing the best we can. And that was just extra motivation and to get inside the car and figure out who was in there. It wasn't until after we flipped it that we saw the mother, who we know now was deceased at the time, and the child was in the back seat. And so it wasn't until after the early process and we got together and we all heard the same, voice.
And Jared, you heard that voice as well?
Yes, I did. Like Officer Beddoes has said, more than one of us, of the 4 officers that were there, responded back saying, "We're here to help."
When Lily was finally freed from the wreck, What condition was she in?
I could tell she had some life in her. I could see her eyes moving. She wasn't breathing at that time. Things went so quickly that I just handed her up out of the car as fast as I could to get her out and get her into the proper hands.
So she wasn't conscious, she wasn't crying or anything like that?
No.
I'm really intrigued by this voice you heard, and I mean, I guess it's something of a mystery to you at this point. I mean, do you think it's possible it came? Is it possible the mother was still alive when you guys came on scene, or what do you make of it?
For 2 nights, I've laid awake trying to figure out exactly, what it could be, and so many things go through your mind. But all I know is that it was there. We all heard it, and that just helped us to push us harder, like I say, and do what we could to rescue anyone inside the car.
What I find really interesting is the fact that nobody else heard the voice besides the people down there, and that it didn't show up on the recording devices. Now, the reason I believe that, and I don't think that this is in their head, because I have experienced this before. What I mean is I've experienced where I hear voices that nobody else in the room hears. And I could tell you about a specific case where this was documented. And I hate that they didn't use it in the episode because it was a clear case of this. Remember the Paranormal State episode, The Glove? In The Glove Part 2, I was investigating a room with Katrina. Now, part of this story kind of seeped into the final product that you guys saw on that episode. But what was really interesting is this was a case with a mother and a husband, a married couple, and the mother and the daughters experienced really intense paranormal activity. But the husband and his sons did not. And the husband thought the mother was going crazy or was lying, to the degree that they were going to get divorced over this. He was trying to take the kids because he thought she was crazy and he wanted to get the kids away from her. So when I first showed up to this case, it was crazy because I was on the first episode as an investigator, and I was directing the second episode. And the husband was such a disbeliever in his wife and what she was saying that he initially, once we arrived, he didn't want to do the case. And for some reason, I don't know why, but Ryan came up to me and he was like, hey, the husband doesn't want to do the case, but he wants to talk to you. And I was like, why the fuck does he want to talk to me? I can't tell him anything but, what the case entirely, what happened last time, And I guess for whatever reason, he had developed a bond with me, or he believed that I would shoot him straight and be honest with him, which I would, and I had to that point. And basically, he pulled me to the side, and he said, look, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do any more of this. I think this is just feeding into the insanity of what my wife is saying, and I think it's making it worse. But what I want to know from you is everything that we experienced last time, was that all real? In which I had said to him, yes, everything we experienced, everything you saw, all that evidence, that really happened. All of it. Which was super wild. That was the case where the glove print was on the wall and the lights were exploding above us when we were going room to room. There were literally production lights exploding above us. And I said to him, yes, all that was real. We don't plant stuff. We don't do that. We don't fake shit at all. And all I could assure him is I said, look, we will treat this episode the same as we did that one. If nothing happens, we'll say nothing happened. And if it did, we'll try to explain why. And he basically said to me, okay, I guess I'm trusting you that you're not lying to me. So I'm not lying to you. I don't know that anything will happen. Maybe nothing happens. In a perfect world, nothing happens for their case. You know what I mean? For their situation, I mean. And so we started investigating, and ended up being in a room with Katrina, and we were sitting right next to each other, and our cameras were right next to each other. Now, this is the wildest thing. All of a sudden, there was this knocking sound that like circled us. And Katrina's gone, "You can't hear that?" And I'm just like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, "You don't hear those footsteps?" And I am like, "No." And she jumps up and she's like, "You don't hear that?" And I'm literally like looking at her like, "Are you losing your fucking mind?" Like, "No, what are you talking about?" And she's like, "There are footsteps in this room. They're walking around us right now." And I didn't hear it. And that's a fact. I didn't hear it. But I infinitely trusted Katrina. So I knew she wasn't lying. She was reacting to something real. Well, when we went back and reviewed the tapes, and this is the weirdest thing, because I don't know if the spirit knew whose camera was whose or what was going on, but whatever was in that room, the sound only appeared on Katrina's camera. The audio on her camera picked up these loud, like boot steps that were walking around us in a circle. But my camera didn't pick it up. Didn't pick it up at all, which blew my mind. I was just like, how is this possible? I can't even come up with anything remotely close to an explanation for this. Because regardless if I heard it, either audibly or subconsciously, how in the hell is it only imprinted on her camera? Like, regardless, the equipment should record what's in the room. Unless, spirits have some kind of ability to pick and choose where they want sound to be imprinted. I don't know. It was wild. But that was a case where I was like, this just blows me away that she heard this and I couldn't. Well, if you look at this, the story here, that's clearly what's happening, where these police are hearing, this voice as they're trying to save this child, but yet nobody else is. And at the same time, it's not being imprinted on any of their recording devices. And they have body cams on. There were people there that were filming down at the car with like cell phones. There was EMTs that had cameras on. And if you look at these police, and all of them, these guys aren't lying. Like, they didn't just get together and huddle up and go, "Okay, let's come up with a story so it could go viral." They experienced this. And you could see that it really affected this police officer, which I think is incredible. So I've experienced the ability for sound to be heard by someone else, but not heard by another individual in the room right next to the person. So I know that's a real thing. And when it comes to visitation, what that is when people pass away, there is a belief that there is a window of time. Some people think it's quick, like, half hour, 45 minutes, an hour. Some people think it's a matter of days. Some people think it's until they say the proper goodbyes to everybody that they have to say goodbye to. And some people believe that it can be long enough where they check up with family members or loved ones to let them know they're okay and they're on the other side. Now, I have no idea how long the time period is with visitation, but I can give you two examples where this has happened to me. The most recent I haven't talked about yet publicly, but Laura knows this to be true. When my father passed away, there's a lot about his passing that you'll learn about in Harbingers that is really, really bizarre and unjust and suspect and weird. But one of the things that happened is, it was the middle of COVID and they weren't letting anybody in to see him. So I had got the message that he was down to like his final days, in which I fought with everything I could for them to let me in to be with him. And at that time, it was right when COVID was just scaring the shit out of everybody. He was just being housed with a lot of people that were sick, and they just weren't letting people in. And oh man, I hate even talking about this, but it's important, so I will get through it. So I knew at some point, I was going to get that call that his final days were, any given night, could have been the following night, could have been a couple days, like no one really knew, but they knew that he was down to his last moments. And I was literally just sitting in my living room, and all of a sudden I got this, it was a feeling like he was here with me, like his presence. Like I felt almost like I was a kid back in high school, like just sitting down next to my dad to watch we used to watch boxing together all the time, and Star Trek films and stuff. And there's just a presence that he had. And I suddenly felt that presence really, really strong. But it was a really good feeling. In the midst of all this like pain and suffering, it was like suddenly like he's here. And I looked at Laura, and she was like, "What is it?" And I said, "I think my dad's here." And she's like, "What does that mean?" I go, "No, I think he just passed away. And I think he wanted to let me know that he's gone, but he's okay." And Laura was like, "Huh." And that's all we really said about it. I just kind of thought about it, and I said, "Okay, well, we'll see," because no one had contacted me yet. The following morning at 5 a.m., I started getting the text, and I was laying next to Laura, and my phone went off, and without even grabbing it, Laura goes, "There's the text." I go, "Yeah." She goes, "He's gone, isn't he?" I go, "Hand me my phone." Hands me my phone. They told me that he had passed away at 8 o'clock on the previous night. Exactly when I got that feeling. And when I turned to Laura and I said, "I think my dad's with me right now." Now that's real, okay? This happened. And it's not something I could, I guess, prove to you. Not that I'm looking to prove it to you, but I'm telling you I experienced it. Which lets me know that there's some kind of time period when a passing occurs that the individual has where they can communicate with people. But the story that I love the most about this is during Laura's mother passed away very young from lung cancer, 62 years old. And she had a rough go. It came on, and it was, God, it seemed so fast that she seemed fine. And then I had heard that she was getting tested, that there were some things that were wrong in one of her, she'd had some coughing issues, and they, I don't know exactly the process, but they did some kind of x-ray or something, and there was anomalies, and it just seemed so fast. I mean, I stopped in to see her, like, God, right after, and she was really battling hard, and it was, the cancer was winning. And she fought, really, really hard. And unfortunately, it took away Laura's mother, but also her best friend. And it was just so hard to watch Laura. I mean, it was sad because I knew her mother, Ruth, as well. And she was, the best mother anybody could ever hope for. I mean, just an amazing, amazing mother-in-law, an amazing person in my life. But she was Laura's best friend. She looks like Laura. She sounds like Laura. They were just very similar. And it was really hard for Laura. And after her mother passed away, like anybody, Laura was hoping that she would get some kind of sign or something. And we didn't really talk about that at all when her mom passed. But a good period of time had gone by, probably 2 or 3 months after her mom had passed away, and finally one day I was actually, I don't know, I was somewhere in Hollywood, and I was doing something with work, and I came home, and I could tell on the phone. I called Laura on my way home, and I could tell that she was just upset. You could just hear it in someone's voice, and so I got home, and I was like, "Well, what is going on?" I could just tell. You just hear it in your voice, And she just kind of had this breakdown and just told me that, she hasn't had any kind of sign. And, it's got to be even more difficult living with me because at that time I was heavily involved in paranormal state, and I think, also working on the ghost prophecies at that time, as well as American Ghost. So it's like Laura's watching me, do tons of work on spirituality and ghosts and souls and spirits and past lives and all this stuff. And here she just wants a sign that her mom's okay, or that her mom is still around in some capacity. And she's not getting it. She's not getting it. And in the short range, it crushed her. It was really, really hard for her. And she was praying and not knowing if, anyone was listening, and wasn't getting the sense that that was happening. And, it killed me because it's one of those things like I don't have a solution for that. You know what I mean? It's like, I know what I believe, I know what I film, I know what I've experienced, but, it's not like I'm going to, fake that I'm Laura's mother or something and try to make her believe. It's like, you can't do that. Like, either it happens or it doesn't. And, I just told her, I just said, well, babe, I think that these things happen when they need to happen. I mean, I don't know, I'm not God, right? But when your mother has to be there, like in life, and when you need her the most, I think she will. That's just my opinion. Well, this went on for another, couple months. And super interesting. One of the weirdest events in my life. I was at the bank one day, and Laura and I hadn't talked about this for a while. That went on. We had a couple conversations about it, and we just kind of stopped talking about it. So I was at the bank, and I had just finished up at the counter. And I turned around, and this woman, I would guess she was 50 years old, came up to me. She was wearing kind of like a female kind of business suit kind of dress. And she said, I feel really weird asking this, but can I talk to you for a few minutes? And I was like, well, do you work here or something? And she's like, no, I was just in line. And I'm like, okay. And she was like, I have something that I have to give you. And I'm like, okay, this is getting super weird. And she hands me this piece of paper. And she's like, this is for you. You're meant to have this. And I'm looking at her like, what, is this like some kind of joke or something? And what I started thinking was, because at the time I was on Paranormal State, and it was like season, gosh, I guess 3 or 4. A popular show at that time, very popular. And I said to her, so are you into the paranormal? Because I'm thinking, what are you, like, a fan of the show or something? This is your way to approach me? And she's like, no, I'm not into the paranormal at all. I'm like, huh. So I start reading the note, and it's clearly not to me, because nothing that's said in it would relate to my life, but everything said in it would relate to Laura's. And I knew right away what this was. Now, why it was handed to me, I don't know. But I turned back to this woman, and I was like, I need you to be honest with me. You know who I am, right? And she's like, no. I'm like, come on, you don't watch Paranormal State? And she's like, I don't know what that is. I'm like, and you're not into the paranormal? She's like, no. I go, being honest with me. I go, you're a ghost hunter? And she's like, no. I go, what do you do for a living? And she's like, I'm an accountant. And I was like, what the fuck? This is wild. So I go home, and I'm thinking, Laura's going to totally think that I did this, that I love her so much that I would fake this, and I would not, never in a billion years would I do that. And I'm like, well, regardless, I'm going to give it to her because this happened, and she needs this message, and I believe this message is from her mother. And I think Laura will recognize that because there's a way her mother spoke. And, everybody has that, right? Like little things about them, personality, points, whatever you want to call it, that make you you. And this girl, after talking to her more, she said that she just became overwhelmed with some kind of urge to write this note and give it to me. And what's crazy is this girl was not even, she said she was not overly religious in any way. She had prayed at times, but she did not even consider herself to be like spiritual in any serious fashion. But she said she was overcome by this really bizarre feeling that she had to write this letter and she had to give it to me, which that alone blows my mind. So I gave it to Laura, and she just began bawling. She knew right away that it didn't come from me. That there's no way that A, I wouldn't do that. That's cruel as shit. And B, she can just tell from what was said in the letter and the way it was said. There were other things in there that her mother had said to her at different times that related to where she was at. But she came out and she was like, explain to me again how you got this. And I told her the story again. And the only thing that really bothered her is that it came through me. Like, why didn't somebody give it to her? Like, if someone was inspired to give that letter, like, why did it go through me? And I don't know the answer to that question. I said, I have no idea, Laura. I'm telling you what happened and I'm giving it to you. Well, what's really interesting is Laura's mother had this way that she would take towels, and this really unique way that she would, like hand towels, like normal hand towels, and this way that she would fold them and stack them like in the bathroom. And she had done it her whole life. And I recognized it. I mean, I knew what it was. I could have never done it. I don't know how the hell she did it. It looked cool as shit. It looked like she would take hand towels and fold them, and it looked like bird wings, and it would look like a bird and a long neck. It was wild. It was really, really cool. But she did this around the sink of the bathroom. And it was just this really cool thing that she did that was unique to her. Now, with that in mind, flash forward ahead about, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks, we had this event in Vegas. And on the way to Vegas, it's about a 4-hour drive from LA, we decided to drive that time instead of fly. We got to talking about, her mother and this letter that came to her through me. And, it really just kind of bothered Laura. No, I shouldn't say bothered's the wrong word. She was really like, why did it come? The girl said she had to give you the letter. Like, you chose to give it to me, but it came to you. So she was like, maybe the girl was just wrong and the letter was given to you. And maybe what was in here, it's just, the mind does that. I've seen this a million times on cases too, where something will happen paranormal and in the moment that it's legitimate, but your mind starts working on you because that's your mind's job, right? Is to rationalize things and make sense out of things that otherwise don't make sense, right? So I think she just wanted some kind of assurance that that letter was meant for her and that it went through me in that way for some reason. That's kind of like, God works in mysterious ways type of thing. And maybe it was just so that I, in my own way, also through this act, maybe that I had the comfort of knowing that Ruth was okay. I mean, she was my mother-in-law too. Of course, I want to know that she's okay as well. So maybe that was a way of her letting us both know. You know what I'm saying? And I think her mom would have known that I would have made Laura take the time to read this, every word of it, and stopped her in the midst of her, crazy day, because every day as a kindergarten teacher is a wild day. So maybe that was the reason. So we were talking about all of this, and I just said, well, if she contacted you once and she let you know that it was her, I wouldn't be surprised if she does it again. And that's all that was really said. And basically what Laura, had said to me is, should it happen again, she hoped that it would be something definitive. So we get to Vegas and we're in a good mood and, life's good. It is what it is. And we were staying at the Luxor. So we take the inclinator up to our room. And right when we get to our room, I unlock the door and I'm carrying her bag and mine. Both my hands are full. Just go through the door. I go straight to the bedroom, drop the bags in the bedroom. And I walk back out of the bedroom and Laura's sitting on the couch. I'm just going to use the bathroom really fast. I open up the bathroom door, which is right where, Laura could see me because the bathroom door is right next to the kitchen. And I just freeze. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, Laura? She's like, yeah. I'm like, I need you to come here right now. And she could see me standing there. She knows I have not been in the bathroom. I just opened the door to it. So she gets up and she walks over to me. And I just look at her. She has a dead serious stare. And I just see her take her hands and put her hands over her face. And she just lowers her head and I could hear her start crying. She saw it. That same exact, like, dove twisting hand towel thing that her mom did is done in the bathroom. And this is so unique. This is not a thing I've ever seen anywhere before. This is a thing that her mom did. And Laura just sees it. And she just breaks down crying. Because she knows, for a fact, the only person on planet Earth that could have done that in that bathroom, that could have taken those hand towels and created exactly what she grew up seeing her whole life in her home. There's only one person who could have done that. Just her mother. And I'm such an investigator, and I have so many habits of trying to debunk things. I even went downstairs later and went to the front desk. I was like, is there any housekeeping person that, makes any kind of birds out of hand towels? And they're looking at me going, birds out of hand towels? Fuck are you on, man? They're like, no, nobody does that. It was a killer moment. It was a killer moment because I saw how powerful it was to Laura. And I am certain in my heart, and I 100% believe that this was her mother who gave us a letter for Laura initially, but I do believe it was meant to go through me so that I also had the comfort of knowing she was okay. Plus, I do think that her mother knows that I would have made Laura, like I said, take the time and read every word that she spoke, every line of that letter. And I think when Laura was saying, I just need some sort of sign to know for sure that it was her, I think her mom heard her. And I think at a time where Laura, needed it, at a time where she would pay attention to it, like a little weekend vacation to Vegas, at a time where she wouldn't be distracted, in a place that it could not have been debated. That's when I believe her mother gave her the sign. So I do believe that these things are real. I love this footage. I think this footage is killer. And what a great story too, right? I mean, the fact that this baby, this child was saved. It's heartbreaking that the mother did not come out alive, but the fact that even during visitation, the mother was still fighting for the child to survive, and that these police officers heard it and knew what they heard and were responding and were able to save her. That's what a fantastic story. Because we live in such a fucking cruel and unjust world that, it's it's easy to forget sometimes that miracles do happen every day and amazing things go on all the time right in front of us that we can't explain. So this is, to me, this footage was a reminder of that. To those wondering, I do believe in visitation. I do believe, my dad let me know that he was okay, that he had passed on. When he did, there would be no other way that I would know exactly when he passed. There's no way I could have known that. And I knew it. Yeah, I think that's real. So if you have stories like this and you experience this, I would love to hear it. I love stuff like this. Again, because I believe it's absolutely true. Let me know in the comments about your experiences. If you have experienced anything like this, I would love to hear it. Also, thank you guys for listening to the song God-Fearing. Please spread that around. Let people hear it, repost it, share it, download it, all that stuff. Also, if you want to support us getting an editor on board to make sure these episodes come out rapid fire and we can do 5 a week, that is the only thing stopping us from doing 5 a week and having a regular schedule of podcasts, is having help from an editor. Please consider visiting our Patreon page, which the link is below in the description box. If you can become a patron, that would be awesome. I hope you all enjoyed this episode of the In a Crowded Room podcast. There will be a brand new episode coming tomorrow. I will see you guys then. Much love and all the best.